Welcome back to something of a different video. I want to talk a little bit about Takopis' Original Sin and Calling of the Night Season 2. Now, if you have not watched Takopis' Original Sin, highly recommend it. 5 episodes are out. The 6th and last one is going to air this week. So if you want to catch up, now is the best time. Friday in my time is the last episode going to air, and you can then, enjoy a full story. There's no second season, no alternative. No, this is all we get. And the story is very dense. Very dense, a lot of stuff happening. There's no breathing room, there's no filler of any kind. It goes bam, bam, bam. Every episode. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the specific episode. I'm talking about Takopis' Original Sin episode 5 and Call of the Night season 2 episode 4. So the newest episodes of both. So this video is going to have spoilers. You have been warned. Now, Takopis' Original Sin, I assumed before Azuma decided to not turn himself in that he would join Shizuka trying to find Chappi, find out Chappi is not there, and that he potentially is dead, and then Shizuka would essentially kill Azuma. That was my assumption. Did not turn out this way. However, Shizuka did try to do the same to Takopis. Which already, understandable after we see what is happening. That she's not right in the head anymore. We already saw that in episode 3 and 4, but now she is massively over the line. Now, we also have some kind of school days-esque scene where she's like, oh, they ate Takopis. So I just have to open up their stomachs and rescue Chappi. And I'm like, this sounds awfully familiar to school days, if you know. And I'm more like, oh, okay. So I know you are crazy. Got it. Now, then I'm like, okay, we only have one more episode. What are we going to do? We are going to get bombarded with the whole story. It is insane. Now, turns out Takopis already went to Earth once, and he met Marina, and then he, accompanied Marina, tried to make her life better. Marina then, stuff happens. She then falls in love with Azuma, and they try, to be together. Marina still has a very difficult relationship with her mom. Even worse, it feels like, than our timeline. And I'm like, okay, then we see Shizuka appearing, and Shizuka more or less pouched Azuma really easily because Azuma is also still traumatized by his mother, and he is trying to find acknowledgement by a woman that looks like his mom. And we have some very awful situations going on with Marina and her mom, and then Azuma, and this is where stuff goes a little bit. At this point, I'm getting a little bit lost. Now, there are a lot of comments, and some of them seems to have cleared up some of the misunderstanding. Now, first off, I don't know if Marina's timeline, if she bullied Shizuka in her school. I do not know. I'm going to assume because Shizuka tried to off herself, but was unsuccessful, then moved away and came back. That is the idea. Later, a couple years later, she came back. Now, I don't know if Marina bullied her, because it is not made clear at this point. Maybe next episode. Additionally, Marina has a scar on her face because as a child, she upset her mom, and her mom then took a glass and scratched her face, permanently scarring her, which is insane. However, I don't know, was that before Shizuka left or after? If it was after, okay. If it was before, why does she not have the scar in our timeline? Our timeline meaning Shizuka timeline. Because this is a pretty big deal, I find. Now, a lot of stuff happens, and Marina is like, I should have killed Shizuka in school, in fourth grade. Now, meaning I believe that she bullied her, but not to the extent she did in our timeline. Now, Takopis is like, got it. Let's turn back time to kill Shizuka. Totally innocent, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So he goes back to his planet, we see his planet, oh nice and stuff. Then we see his interaction with his mom. He's going to turn back time amidst the protest of his mom. His mom is like, no, you are unclean, we need to you need to be reborn as a little happy Apian, and we are going to erase your memory, and you are banned from coming back here. That is why he can't go back to the planet Happy, because he more or less got kicked to the curb. Now he still turns back time, seemingly lost his memory, goes back to where he was, but this time met Shizuka, our timeline. Now what we then see is also that he seemingly, this is the explanation I saw from some of the comments, seemingly escaped the attack by Shizuka, came back to the city, and now is standing before Azuma. Now, how Azuma behaves and talks to Takopis, I can see, okay, this seems to be the event, because he knows Takopis and stuff. Okay, this is where the episode ended. Now, at this point, again, I don't know if the scar was happening before or after Shizuka left. Because if it's before, it should be in this timeline as well. If it's after, totally fine, okay. Ignore this part, fine. Additionally, Marina in our timeline is hell-bent on bringing her to more or less off. Marina's trying to get Shizuka to off herself, which... Did this happen in her timeline? Because it feels like this the sentiment should be reserved for Marina timeline, and not for our timeline, Marina. So is there some, did some of her memories cross over? Did it not? It would, interestingly enough, put some of her disdain of Shizuka in a new light, because she's always talking about her dad, how her mom stole her dad, and how she is like her mom, which in this case, in the Marina timeline, you can definitely see how this, how this sentiment can be born. Additionally, it feels like that Marina in her timeline would have been fine with Azuma getting with Shizuka and stuff. She would have been, she would have had a broken heart and stuff. However, her mom, which should never have been a mom, went totally crazy, tried to kill Marina, and Marina defended herself, which is very good. And I do applaud her, but I do understand that this incident is going to mentally scar you in ways I cannot understand. And she seemingly, after Takopis is like, okay, I'm going to turn back time, decided to do what Shizuka did. Now, again, this is somewhat crazy. We do see at the end that Takopis gets his memories back, and he is like, I need to kill Shizuka. because I want to help Marina, but Marina's dead. So, I mean, this would not change anything. However, Shizuka did also help Takopi. At this point, there is, in anime, you do have roller coaster at some points. But most of the time it's like an up and down. It's like sometimes you are up, sometimes you are down. You get the thrill. Takopis feels like we are in like one of those fancy roller coasters that go left, right, loop-de-loop, spiral, whatever. I don't know where this is going. Because even if, let's say, he can turn back time in some kind of fashion, I don't know what the solution is. I have no idea. If you leave Shizuka alone, she tries to off herself, unsuccessful, moves away, comes back, sees Azuma, and that turns to Marina offing herself. So she would die. Now, if you turn back time and you try to help Shizuka, then this would turn into Marina potentially dying. Or if Marina is left alone too much, she can then turn more or less force Shizuka to die. So it feels like the best solution, which is probably the most horrible, is to just get rid of the parents before they can have children. It feels like that is the best solution. Marina's mom, get her out. Marina's dad, get him out. Shizuka's mom, get her out. Shizuka's dad, get him on the same burning pile of trash heap garbage and burn all of those four. Don't let them have children. That feels like the only good solution. I don't know, because at this point, Azuma meets Takopis. Now we know Azuma is smitten by Shizuka. However, the brother of Azuma did fight this off. So we don't know what happens. What happens to Takopis? He can't go back. The last episode is going to be very interesting. I just had to talk about this. I know it's a lot of rambling and not a lot of, unintelligent gibberish. Now to Silent of the Night. I like Silent of the Night. It is very cozy. I like the main character. He's very blunt. He's not sugarcoating himself or what he says. I like Nazuna. Now the last episode 4 of season 2, we got some revelation. Now, the first thing I really love is the misdirection. Now, we are in this hospital. We want to find out some past of Nazuna she supposedly has. We find the other vampire Kabuki, I believe. So now we try to, we have like a hint. There's a room that is, people don't go in. It's spooky. There's a ghost, whatever. Now, Ko finds out, hey, Kabuki, she's a little bit similar to like a mom to Nazuna. So my brain naturally, similar to probably a lot of others, and Ko went to, hey, Kabuki maybe turned Nazuna into the vampire. So we get this little confrontation where he talks to Kabuki, and Kabuki is, no, you're wrong. Now then we find Nazuna finds a picture where she is a nurse outfit and Kabuki is a patient. So now the next part is, oh, Nazuna turned Kabuki. Okay, we got it. He comes into the same room, confronts Kabuki, is like, yo, I turned you. And Kabuki is no. And I'm like, okay, you got me twice. There's good job, anime, good job. Now it is true and not true from what we can tell. Because we do get the backstory of Kabuki, which I really, really like. That is a very well done backstory. She was in this hospital. She had some kind of I don't know, problem, whatever. She is a sick person. So she has some kind of sickness. She's weak. She has to go to the hospital. Now, there was a nurse called Haru, which looks like Nazuna, who was always there and more or less her friend in the hospital. And, you know, they hit it off pretty well. Now, we also see that Kabuki did see Haru maybe a little bit more romantically. But, you know, as a patient, you know, stuff happens. However, she gets released because, you know, it feels like she only has to be in the hospital for like a little while because something happens. We don't really know as far as I remember, but she gets released. She's meeting up with friends, and seemingly she had a different idea from what was going on. She can't drink alcohol, beer and stuff. However, they still decide to go to some kind of impromptu mixer type of stuff, like 4 girls and 2 boys. So she excuses herself, goes to the toilet, comes back, hears how her friends, in quotation, talk shit about her more or less and say, oh, it's like looking after a sick person, which is like, you know, if you looked after, or if it was like looking after a sick person, you would do something else. You would be like, oh, how about we meet at my home? We do like we play games evening, or we do some home karaoke or whatever. We just get a couple snacks, we talk the evening, instead of walking around with someone who seemingly has a low constitution and then trying to get her to drink beer and stuff, or put her in an environment where it is normal to drink beer and, you know, potentially push her in that way. Probably not willingly, but, you know, this can happen. So she ends up in the hospital again because of some other stuff. And it is really heartbreaking because she hoped this, you know, would be friends. They would look at least a little bit after her. It's not too much. It's not like she can't walk. It's not like she has broken limbs. She just has a low constitution. Go to the cinema. You know, cinema, after that go to McDonald's or whatever. And bam, good evening. You did something. You can talk about stuff. Not too much walking. A lot of, you know, sitting still. This is something she could have done. Or just talk to her. Now, I understand that out of her friends probably don't even think twice about this. And I can understand this. It is a very selfish thing, sure, but it is selfish in both ways. If you have a problem, as example, you can't walk as long, you have to talk to the people. You have to say, I can't walk that long, and then the other person can act on that. And if they don't act on that, then you know, okay, they are assholes. However, just assuming they know what is going on and what they need to do is a little bit selfish. We do see, however, that while she is walking up the stairs in the hospital, we see what she wants to say, but she can't because this would alienate her to her friends. Also totally understandable. There are some parts you don't want to say because people could then, you know, turn away from you. And this is where she meets Haru. We get this nice little scene. I do have the picture open. We get this scene, and this is a really cool scene. The blood moon, we see Haru. This is where she more or less shows herself as a vampire. And we also see that Kabuki really loves Haru. And she then gets turned into a vampire here and there. And we do see this is like a rebirth kind of scene that happened. And this is more or less where the episode ends. Which does open up some questions for me. Now, are Haru and Nazuna the same? why did Nazuna then lose her memories? I can understand Kabuki saying that Nazuna is not the one that turned her, because Nazuna and Haru are totally different. But those are the questions. If they are the same, why did Nazuna lose her memories? How old is Nazuna then, theoretically? Because she seemingly was in this hospital, she already is a vampire. We still have then the question, who turned Nazuna? Because that is still not answered then. We have a lot of these little questions. Now, if Haru and Nazuna are like sisters, then the question is, where is Haru? And, still then happens, why can't Nazuna remember anything before like 40 years ago? There are a lot of little questions there that are going to be intriguing to see through. But at the moment, it seems like that Nazuna had an offspring in Kabuki. I don't remember her name, but you know who I mean. And we will see next episode how it develops. However, I really love the depiction of Kabuki and how she got sick and how she thought about her relationship with her friends. That she was very hurt that they more or less saw her as baggage that they needed to care about. And as she was walking up the stairs, how she felt, trying to say all of these different things, but she's unable to because she doesn't want to alienate the couple friends she still has. I also don't know why she went to the roof. I do have some darker... It seems to have some darker implications, I feel like. It could also have been that she knows that Haru is on the roof and she just wanted to see her. And also, we know that Haru definitely knew that Kabuki had feelings for her, because they did play around a little bit on the roof. Haru was like, oh, do you have someone you like? And Kabuki answered, you already know. So I just wanted, because I wanted to talk about Takopis, just wanted to put this here as well. I feel like both of these shows are very good. Very, very good. Takopis is still on top, mostly because the topics that are being discussed in Takopis are so difficult, and Takopis does not hold back at all. It is just showing stuff. It is not giving a damn what you feel, what you think. And if you can just look at the discourse online about Takopis, about all the characters, to know that a lot of emotions are evoked when you watch Takopis, and a lot of different opinions clash with each other. Doesn't mean that their opinions are wrong. However, you know that Takopis does something to the viewer that is very hard to do, and that is really care about what is happening. Now in Call of the Night is a very good anime. I really enjoy it.